Yeah, oh, and I got that footage that you wanted me to get for the GoPro. I got something that was totally tubular. I got something that was righteous. I found something that was sick. And I got some footage of something that's like a real game changer. Welcome back to DPReview TV viewers. It is Chris Nichols here, and I have here in my hands the brand new GoPro HERO 11 Black Edition. This is an interesting piece of kit because at the heart of this we have a brand new sensor. It opens up some interesting ramifications for what you can do creatively on this camera. I'm eager to play with that. So first, Jordan and I haven't really used any GoPros for a long time. I mean, it's been many versions. So we're not going to be comparing this to the previous versions and what's upgraded. We're really going to focus more on, is this a worthwhile piece of kit to get in addition to your high-end video camera equipment? Does this provide something that they just really can't touch? Is this even a worthwhile upgrade to a modern smartphone? That's really kind of what we want to focus on more. I am super stoked to play with and be stokified by this new camera. So the unique thing for me that really strikes me at first is this new sensor that we have in this camera. It is a type 1/1.987 ratio, almost square ratio sensor, 27 megapixels. And so this gives us a very unique look at the world we haven't really seen on GoPros before. Now you can make use of this new 8:7 aspect ratio in both video and photo. And if we talk about video first, this does open up a lot of interesting possibilities because it's like an open gate concept. If I want to pull vertical video out, I can do that with that extra range top and bottom. Or, you know, if I'm just shooting a scene like fishing, for example, where I would always get width but lose a lot of the action top and bottom, you know, into the sky and into the water, this is going to address that. Of course, I do also have the option to crop to more traditional aspect ratios like 16:9 or 4:3, and of course some frame rates will require a crop, absolutely. Okay, but buddy, this next feature, it is so sick you will need immediate medical attention even though you're made out of cast bronze. So if you choose to shoot in the 16:9 aspect ratio, you can then choose Super View, which is the same width as you would get in the full frame, 8:7 or even 4:3 aspect ratio. It's just that you actually get that 16:9 look. But if you choose Hyper View, this is where it gets really amazing. Actually, it's a known fact that the wider you go, the radder you get. I mean, that's we didn't make that up. That was actually in the press briefing, I shit you not. Anyways, when you choose Hyper View, what the camera does is it uses that extra height on the sensor top and bottom to then squeeze the frame down to 16:9. Because you're squeezing everything down, the perspective definitely looks wider, and it is raddest to the sickest nth degree. Okay, so now we've explained some of these different ratios and the new look of the sensor. Let's take a look at some footage. So the team in Seattle, me, Kim, and Richard, they did some awesome biking out in the woods. I took this out for the weekend, did some water stuff. Check it out. Okay, viewers at home, I don't exactly understand the whole lingo, but I'm gonna do my best. So, as you can see with the intense wind on the waves out here, it's making to a full-on chunder zone. So I'm getting chicken skin over it, and I'm just gonna record video instead, even though it makes me a total hodad out here. Like the footage is pretty gnarly, I think.
That was great.
Yes. Now, another new feature on the GoPro 11, if you have a GoPro subscription, you can upload full quality photos and videos to those things up there against that blue stuff. And then they'll actually make a highlight reel for you, they'll edit together, and then you can download that from those things, you know, onto your computer, and you can watch your greatest hits from your trips. Now, of course, we're not able to test this because this camera hasn't been announced yet, so that feature's not exactly activated, but if you like those things, you're gonna like that feature on the 11. So let's talk about photo mode here on the GoPro 11. And now that we have that 8:7 aspect ratio, I'm actually really enjoying the larger, almost square format of that. 27 megapixels now, up from about 23 on the other GoPros. You know, this camera is still quite clunky in photo mode. I mean, I find the touchscreen interface pretty slow, pretty plodding. You have to be patient with it. You have to give a little bit of time to reset orientation from vertical to horizontal. And if you push a feature, you got to give it a bit of time to make sure that it has actually chosen it. I am primarily using RAW on this camera because, of course, I want you guys to be able to download those and do what you want to do with it. But there are some other interesting features here. There is an HDR feature, which is, you know, simply combining multiple photographs at different exposures, like the classic HDR. Can be handy in a high contrast situation. There's also a super photo mode now. Now, this is JPEG only, but it's basically working a lot like your smartphone. Computational photographic techniques, combining multiple photos. I'm finding that it's boosting shadows a little bit, changing things like the color mode to vivid in certain shots and stuff. So it kind of just takes some creative liberties with your photos and gives you just nice, impactful, vivid shots. But again, no RAW capability there, just JPEGs. Now, the computational photographic techniques in that super photo mode also promise to give you better low light performance on this camera. I would still never expect a GoPro to be amazing in low light, but compared to a smartphone, there's kind of an interesting thing to talk about here. This particular lens in GoPro is an f2.8 aperture maximum, and it's always there. You get enough depth of field with the ultra-wide lens to cover basically 6 inches from the camera to infinity. I mean, you know, you don't have to focus on here, but if you consider the sensor size in the GoPro 11 is pretty similar to what you get in the smartphone's main camera, but it's quite a bit larger than what you would get in a smartphone's ultra-wide lens sensor, and that's really what we're talking about here because this is an ultra-wide lens. Also in photo mode, there's no optical stabilization, so you know, you're still basically having an experience very similar to what you had on previous GoPros, other than the fact that you have that new aspect ratio on the sensor. There are some manual controls, you know, I mean, I can change shutter speed, I can set my ISO minimum and maximum, white balance, exposure compensation, but largely those controls are all buried deep in menus. Again, it's kind of slow and plodding to even get to those in the first place. I really think if you're shooting here, it's going to be very much a point and shoot experience, just, you know, as a side project for when you're actually trying to capture your main video for your adventures. Now, there's one thing I'm noticing here with the taller sensor, that 8:7 aspect ratio, and that is it's capturing more at the very top of the frame. And my finger, I can see it even right there, just touching the corner of the lens mount here. I can see my finger now blocking the shot. Now, in video, this isn't that big a deal because generally I'm going to start the video and then I'm going to move the camera around and, you know, maybe move my fingers away or it's on a stick or a mount. Not a big deal. But with photos, I'm often pinching the camera here physically with my hands and I can just see that top left corner. It has wrecked a few of my shots where I have to say, oh yeah, I got to retake that because, well, you know, there's a big black corner up there. Okay, so clearly I think you see Jordan and I are walking together vlogging, so you're hearing the audio here on the camera now itself, and we have to do some more testing. We want to compare that low light, we want to get some video samples, really be able to make some conclusions. So when you see us again, we'll have more to say about the GoPro 11, right? So say goodbye, Jordan.
Bye, Jordan. That's a terrible joke. I hate myself.
You suck.
All right, it's Jordan here. I've taken a look at a lot of the GoPro 11 Black footage, and I've got some opinions on it. But first I want to talk about one of the major upgrades on the 11 Black, and that's that it now has the ability to shoot 10-bit video. Now, GoPro's marketing is all, we've gone from millions to billions of colors, the incredible saturation and vividness, and that's all total horseshit. The big appeal here is you can use their flat profile, and now you'll be able to change the color, adjust the exposure without the image falling apart more than you were able to before. And that is definitely the case. Without having a LUT for this new profile, it is very easy to just manually grade it. I really like the look of the video that's coming off of this. It does seem very similar to the previous flat profile. You'd think it would be tweaked a little bit to take advantage of the more color information in the 10-bit files, but I'm still pretty pleased with the image. But looking at the overall image quality, my impressions were kind of split. In good light, this is very, very sharp video coming off of this. And one really nice thing is previous GoPros had some real issues with motion compression, and obviously you're moving these cameras a lot of the time. But here I didn't see anything where we were seeing any kind of pixelation or anything like that when the whole frame was filled with motion, and the file sizes are still relatively small, which is quite impressive. However, when my kid took the GoPro into a darker indoor play place to record some footage, There you can see there's just a complete lack of detail. The noise reduction is extremely aggressive on this, and it looks like bad smartphone footage. So really, I think this is a camera that you're gonna wanna use primarily in good light when you're recording video, leave low light for stills and time lapses. One of the other big advantages of getting a GoPro at this price is the slow motion capabilities. It is better than the majority of high-end smartphones out there. We can do 4K, 120, but it also gives us a 2.7K, 240 frame per second record mode. And as long as the kind of subjects that you're shooting can be captured with an ultra wide angle lens, I think this is going to be worth picking up for a lot of people just as a dedicated slow motion camera. The image quality is still very detailed in those slow motion record modes, and I was very impressed. But for me, the most exciting thing about the GoPro 11 Black is a feature that's only possible because of the more square sensor that we've got here, and it's the horizon lock feature. Now, this isn't to be confused with the horizon level feature that's been in GoPros before, where it'll adjust the frame a little bit to keep the horizon level if the camera's rolling a little bit. No, this will actually lock the horizon, and you can rotate the camera 360 degrees, and it'll keep that horizon leveled right off. And what you can see in this diagram here is if we slightly crop a 16:9 video recording frame within that more square sensor, we now have enough room to rotate it 360 degrees, and that's exactly what this horizon lock feature is doing. So what that means is, sure, in really dynamic situations where, say, you've got a boat rocking back and forth, the horizon will stay completely locked off, but also you can spin the camera 360 degrees. You won't see the horizon shift at all. Your subject will actually move around the frame. It looks incredibly cinematic, just like you've got a gimbal sitting out beside the subject, but the GoPro is actually attached to that subject. It's really hard to explain, but it's super cool when you see it. And I've only had this for a couple of weeks, and I keep thinking of really new, cool ways that I want to try this feature out. Nothing else can do it, and I think it's a real selling point for the GoPro 11 Black.
Okay, so let's answer our original questions here. I mean, is it still relevant today to get a GoPro 11 Black Edition? And why I'm saying that is, you know, action cams, yes, it's been a few versions since Jordan and I have really used them, and they honestly still haven't changed. I mean, the purpose hasn't changed, you know? The reason why you buy a camera like this is because of the mounts, it's because of the ruggedness, it's because of how immersive you can make the experience, and the fact that you're not risking your smartphone in very dangerous situations to get that footage. So yes, I think it's still relevant absolutely to buy this. But has it really come a long ways? Well, in some ways, yes. I mean, the thing that I was really blown away by, and I've said it many times throughout this review, it is that 8:7 aspect ratio sensor. That really does bring something neat to the table. The fact that you can choose your frames afterwards. You don't have to be so critical about getting your subject in the action right within that 16:9 framework that you can choose it later. I love that. And of course, the other features that Jordan's talked about that 8:7 sensor really brings to the table too. Now, what if you already have a really fancy mirrorless camera, great video capabilities? Is this still worth getting? Well, number one, for the aforementioned reasons of the fact that it's durable, it's got the mounts, you can immerse it, and at relatively low risk to your gear and wallet, I think that's one still major reason to buy this. But also, you know, we've got now mirrorless cameras coming in the market which have pretty good slow-mo capabilities. They're starting to offer 1080 240, they're offering 4K 120, but to be fair, those are quite expensive cameras. And so if you have a more reasonable mirrorless outfit and you want to supplement some interesting slow-mo capabilities, this GoPro 11 Black Edition actually brings a lot of that to you as well for, again, relatively low cost. So I think regardless, this is still absolutely a very viable piece of kit to buy. Well, we hope this review helps you decide whether the latest GoPro is right for you. Despite the fact that it's got a clunky photo interface, we did shoot an entire sample gallery, so definitely check that out at DPReview.com. That link is in the description below. Click the notification bell after you subscribe. That would be fantastic. We'd appreciate that. Write your comments below. Let us know what you think about this product. Otherwise, though, from Jordan and myself, we shall see you soon with another episode of DPReview TV.